Hi everybody, welcome back. It's Wednesday again, 5 o'clock Israel time. We have a weekly shir on Emunah, which is faith, and psychology combined. We're talking about how to combine Emunah, which is faith in the one God, not only that He exists and He created everything, but faith that He's running and He's orchestrating everything that's from the biggest to the smallest events. We combine this with a methodology, with strategies, with tools, with motivational devices to get people moving towards their goals, get people to utilize their potential. And by utilizing potential, human potential, combining that with your spiritual potential, you've got a winning combination, a guaranteed winning combination. Because when you use Hashem, when you bring Hashem into your life, no matter what you do, you're going to be successful. Whether you're a banker or a mortgage broker or a college professor or you're a nursery school teacher, if you bring Hashem center stage into what you're doing and you combine your knowledge base and your skills in whatever area that you're in, maybe you're an actor, maybe you're a comedian, I don't know. Whatever you do, bring Hashem into it and it will only be better. It'll be more interesting for people, it'll be more interesting for you. We want to talk today about making your life more real. How do you make your life? One of the ways that we have to get over the obstacles that the fantasy world draws us into. The world of fantasy, the world of make-believe or pretend. The world of Dimyonos. This is what is going on in the minds of most human beings today. If you could open up a little porthole and you could look into the brain of the average person walking around, you'll see that most of the day he's just spitting out ideas that are fantastic. Imaginations, fantasies, things that have nothing to do with real life. And to the extent that we're lost in fantasy, we are not going to be able to face life and succeed in life the way we can. Enjoy life the way we can, certainly not. Because the fantasies rob people of pleasure, of real pleasure. We're going to talk about a very common fantasy that people have today, and that is a fantasy of revenge. To want to get back, to want to take Nakama against another person. Wow. Is this a fantasy that people have? And you know, some people, they know they have it, and it's right up there on the surface. They can talk about it, they're honest about it. They know the enemy and they work on it. But there are people that don't even know. They don't even know how much they want to take revenge. That they're competing and fighting almost all the time to win. To win what? To win only a fantasy type of victory that could never have that effect in reality. There will never be enough pieces of reality all lined up in just the right way that somebody's fantasy is going to be completely satisfied. Impossible. You know, everything is being run from God. God's running the show. So it's not going to ever go according to the fantasy of a human being. A human being has to realize that the deeper he gets into his fantasies, the further he gets from the truth. The further he goes into, we're going to talk about revenge today, but any type of fantasy, it takes you away from reality. The only reality is Hashem. Hashem is reality. There is no other reality other than Him. We want to look and see the truth and live by the truth, which are the mitzvahs, which is the learning Torah, which is davening, speaking to Him, serving Him by doing all the mitzvahs. This is reality. This is reality. And this puts you in touch with things, real. You can face external challenges, and you can face challenges within yourself more readily, more honestly. So this is what we're going to talk today. This idea of revenge is something that I've seen I think probably every single session that I've done to some extent, certainly every day of my work life for the last 40 years, almost 40 years, I see competition, the need to win, the want to get back. What is a person getting back at? What is a person who has a need for revenge getting back at? Well, he's getting back at one person or more people who hurt him. He was hurt. Somebody hurt him when he was little. And he felt helpless, and he felt powerless, and he wanted to take revenge. From that day, from the very first day that somebody laid a hand on him, or somebody embarrassed him, or humiliated him, he wanted to get back at that person. He wanted to switch roles with that person. He wanted to abdicate the role of feeling like a helpless victim and assume the role of the strong person who's persecuting him. Better to be that strong persecutor than to be the weak victim who's passive and can't fight back. Let's turn the tables on what happened to the person in the past. That's what he wants to do. So he was hurt as a child. Now he has a fantasy of revenge that's been brewing in him for 10, 20, 30 years. Right? Okay? He may be the type of person that is going to calculate his revenge. He's going to plan it. It's going to be a public demonstration of his revenge. Most people don't do that. Most people will just fantasize about it. Different ways of doing it. They fantasize about doing it publicly, fantasize about doing it privately, and sneakily. Whatever it is, a person who wants to have revenge, let's say a person who was abused by his father, is abused by his teacher, who was physically abused, you know, and he was locked up, and he was, I don't know, they stuffed a rag in his mouth so he couldn't yell. Some days they didn't give him food. You know anyone like this? I don't know. Probably most of the people in his, I don't think anybody in his neighborhood knew. That none of his teachers knew, none of his rabbis knew. All right, anyway. He grows up and he wants to strike back, right? And he does violent things sometimes. He does violent things. And a lot of times his aggression is mixed with a desire to hurt, people that remind him of people that he grew up with. Okay. He's a predator. I mean, you would look at him, he wouldn't look like a predator, but he is. He wants to prey on people. He's angry at people, he's angry at the world. And when he's in that mood, where he wants to just get back, he doesn't have very much feeling for people. And that's what we do too. Maybe to not such an extreme, but we lose our feelings, our sensitivities for other people because we just want to get our way. We want to get back. We want to get our way. We want to push through, save face, look like the best, look like you know more than you know, that you're more religious than you are. I don't know. But everybody has this part of them that is not completely satisfied with what they have and who they are. That's why one of the 10 Commandments says, Lo sachmo. You shall not covet. You shouldn't want what other people have. That's what God gave to them. God is going to give you what you need, which has nothing to do with what he needs or she needs. How does God know what you need? He's God. He knows. Trusting that and believing that is what Emunah is all about. So a person who is a predator, a person who wants to just manipulate people, exploit people, take advantage, use them as much as he can, emotionally, physically, in any way. I see a spiritual abuse going on, where people in trusted positions of spirituality violate their trust and betray their trust, the trust that some young person put in them to be their spiritual guide, to be able to help them spiritually or help them through a conversion process, and then completely drops the person, turns against the person. Okay. These are challenges, these things happen. The natural psychology of a person is to want to take revenge. We have that. The Torah way is to not take revenge. The Torah way, which is the real reality that we all have to strive for, is that even if you have an enemy, right, and you see that he's having a hard time loading up his donkey, or taking the load off his donkey, so that the donkey doesn't get hurt, you have to help him. You can't turn away. Even from someone that you dislike, even someone who hurt you, who didn't say nice things about you. Okay, if he tried to get you to do idol worship, you don't have to help him. Very interesting, fascinating halacha, that you don't have to help somebody. In fact, you're not allowed to help somebody who tries to talk you into serving an idol other than Hashem. Even if he's a Jew, V'yahavta l'recha kamocha does not apply to him. So says the holy Maimonides Rambam. Okay. But really what we're supposed to be striving for is not to want to take revenge, but to see that everything is coming from Hashem and everything that Hashem is doing is good. And that's okay. This was not a pleasant experience. Maybe a person has a trauma. That's certainly not a pleasant. But looking at it as soon as possible afterwards to see, okay, what's the message there? What's good about this? You gotta find something good about it. Just have to find something good about that. What happened? Because the alternative is not good. The alternative is spiraling into depression, losing your sense of self-worth, getting into trouble with other people, getting fired, losing money. The list just goes on and on. So when people go into revenge mode, when people go into any negative emotion, they lose control. They lose their balance and their centering. They lose God. They lose Hashem. They're severing their connection. So the only thing you can do in a situation where you feel out of control, where you feel confused, is you have to take a break. You have to take a break and get back to you. You have to get back to an honest, real connection with who you are, and then you can go have your connection with Hashem. Because only when you know who you are, when you're the real you, can you have a real connection. A unique connection, in fact. No one else has your connection. But you have to find it with your own self-honesty. And that's really another theme that cuts through this whole idea of wanting revenge and living in fantasies. There are people that just living in fantasies all their lives. And it just depletes them. It makes them feel so empty, so weak. They don't think they can affect anything. They can't even make a decision. I know people that brilliant people that cannot decide what they want to have for dinner. That's a very hard decision. They can't decide if they want to have the chicken with the rice or they want to have the cholent heated up from Shabbos. They don't know they don't know. What are they doing this summer? Forget about it. You can't ask such a question. What are your goals for that? Because they're always so weak from thinking over and over and over again about silly, ridiculous things all day long. Silly, ridiculous things that pulls them out of life. You know, this is one of the things, sinner, which is hatred, which leads to wanting to take revenge, is one of the things that pulls us out of life. Pulls you out of life. What is life? Life is connection to the truth, which is connection to Hashem. As we said before, the downside is not only to the person himself, who can't forgive, or who can't forgive Hashem for making him so limited that he has to try to grab onto the qualities of other people or have a vindictive triumph over other people, push them down in order to elevate himself, make himself feel better about himself. It's a pointless activity. I know somebody he's so honest, he's so open, he's such a pleasure to work with. I wish I had the privilege of working with more people like him. He knows that he loves to talk. Why does he love to talk? He loves the sound of his own voice. You know, as soon as he sits down with a group of people, he's off and running. He feels, you know, but it's not exactly a pleasurable manipulation, domination of that conversation. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of struggle on his part. And it's also having that feeling like he's got to keep coming up with stuff to say. You know, he's got to find more and more to talk about, because if he stops talking, then he's going to realize that people were just sort of being polite, but nobody was really listening to him. Nobody really had any patience to even start listening to him, because they've heard him so much in the past. They've heard him so much in the past, and they felt lectured and spoke down to. That as he opens his mouth, they're out in fantasy land. They're escaping from this painful reality by going into fantasies. And nobody will ever tell this guy. His kids are not going to tell him. His wife's not going to tell him that people perceive you as too filled up with yourself. You know, you're too, you enjoy yourself too much. You're not showing that you really care enough about other people to listen to what they have to say or ask their opinions, or, you know, take a back seat to someone else for a while, you know, just be quiet, let other people talk and exchange ideas without you getting into every single sentence, you know, jumping in. So what a refreshing idea. This man was grateful is not the word. I mean, he was just so grateful, so appreciative, you know, to have his eyes opened up, you know, to what he's really doing. Yeah, I know I talk a lot, Zev. I know I talk a lot. I got to, you know, but I never really thought about it from this angle. I never really, you know, thought it through, you know, what talking too much does to people. You know, and you know, and he said, you know, I have to now look at my relationships differently. I have to work on this in my marriage, with my kids. I want to work on this. So it's good for him. Good for him. Right. So people aren't going to tell you and I either the things that we do that they don't like. The things that we do when we're trying to live out some kind of a fantasy rather than live our real lives. You know, when you're trying to, you know, act and speak in conformity with some script that you have in your head, you know, that you wrote when you were 5 years old, you know, and it's a fantasy, it's a story, And now you're feeling compelled that you're trying to live and act out that story that you have in your head. That's the ideal. That's what you should be shooting for. Only it may have a lot of unrealistic parts to it. It may not be what Hashem wants for you. It may not be your destiny. But you're pushing and you're straining. Most people, by the way, are not doing what they enjoy. Very few people are doing what they enjoy. You know? Could that also be because they still have that childhood fantasy that I have to be a lawyer because, you know, my father told me I had to, and my grandfather and my uncle and everybody, my aunt who was such a great law professor. So his fantasy is driving his life, but it's not really even a fantasy that he wants. It's not even what he wants. He only thinks he wants this. He doesn't really even know what he wants. People can't even get to step one, which is to face themselves, face life, face reality until they face the fantasies. They have to see the obstacles first. Otherwise, everything that we're going to do in our work together or that you're going to do in your work alone is going to be blocked by a fantasy. If you cannot dismantle them, if you can't find them, take them down yourself, then you have to call us. You have to call us. And I'm going to give you a phone number where you can get in touch. And that number is 718-577-2975. That's 718-577-2975. Call from 2 in the afternoon to 11 at night. Press 1, that's English. Speak to Aaron Dubinsky. And we'll be talking before you know it. Okay, so I want to just get into one more subject here, and that is the idea that people have about how nice it would be if you could change the past, right? Oh, if I can only do that over again. You know, the great playwright, he's an English playwright, I'll think of his name in a minute. He said, youth is wasted on the young. Youth is wasted on the young. You know, it sounds nice, you know, it sounds so poetic. Youth is only wasted on the young, it's wasted on the young. Yeah. But you know what? A person with real emunah would never say such a thing. A person with real emunah wouldn't say youth is wasted on the young. Because that statement is being made by a person who has regrets. He has a lot of regrets about his past. You know? He says, I wish I could just do my youth over again, you know? And he has grievances against the Creator that his past didn't play out the way he wanted. So he wants to do it over again. He wants to go back in a time machine and start all over again and be a different him and go through a different reality, you know? Hashem says, hey, first of all, you don't trust me. You know, the reality that you had is exactly the reality you needed to come to who you are today, or to come to the questions, the good questions that you have today. If you have good questions about the life you're leading, if you have good questions about yourself, why you sometimes do what you do, what is really motivating you from your deeper mind, your subconscious mind, that you may not be aware of. But, yeah, we have to get, you know, we have to understand that whatever happened to us is what has to happen, is what had to happen. Hashem says, hey, you want it to be different? Can't do that. I'd have to go back and change so many things for so many other billions of events that you passed through, and all kinds of things that, you know, other people's lives, how their lives and their destinies interacted with your destiny. Can't do that, says Hashem, for whatever reason. He doesn't have to give us reasons, you know. He maybe doesn't even have to have a reason. other than he's God, and that's the way he wants it. I don't know. It might be a side to say such a thing. It might be a side. But we have to learn to accept. We have to learn to accept that the lives that we've been given, the paths and destinies that have been essentially decided for us, they have to happen. They have to happen. What's our role? Well, we don't know exactly. We just try as hard as we can to be good people, to not live in fantasy, not mentally jump around too much, which is the basic idea today. To stick to the mitzvahs, to learn about them, to enjoy doing them, to look forward to doing them. Because this is how you show your love, your loyalty to the Creator. This is how you demonstrate to Him that you believe in Him, that you believe in these laws, and so on and so forth. Fantasy is a big problem in Judaism. Imagination, going into revenge is certainly one of the worst. But on everybody on his level is, as we said before, involved in this. We have to root it out. We have to see it doesn't pay. It takes us away from our connection with other people. They don't love you as much. They don't love you as much because they just feel you're not with them. You're with your own grandiosity. You're with your own, narcissistic ideas. We all slip in and out of it, and we have to know when it's happening, and be able to have tools and strategies to deal with them. And the strategies are there. Okay, I want to give you a phone number again, where you can get in touch with us. And that number is 718-577-2975. 718-577-2975. Extension 1, Aaron, between 2 and 11. And we can give you any information you need about Emunah coaching, Emunah psychotherapy, how we combine these things, and make what we think is a very unique blend in the way we counsel people, the way we do coaching and psychotherapy with individuals, with marital couples, with families, with children and teenagers. And we do it with all kinds of, with rabbis, we do it with Jews, with non-Jews. We do it with everybody. Anybody who wants to learn about the truth, give us a call, 718-577-2975. In that merit, we should all be zoicher, we should all have Emunah Shalema, complete and total faith. We should come back to our Creator, learn about Him, and then we'll certainly see the coming of the true Messiah, the only King of Israel, and the rebuilding of His holy temple here in Jerusalem. May it happen speedily in our days. Amen.